Welcome to livingpianos.com. Robert Estrin here with such a fun subject. Can you guess 5 things that piano and ping pong have in common? I thought of this subject, and the last one is the original one I thought of, so stay to the end so you can check that one out. But there are so many things that they have in common, and one of the things, and this isn't one of the 5, but one of the things is that there are 2 things that I particularly love that I've been doing almost my whole life. I remember getting a ping pong table when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, there's a crazy story about that. It was holiday time, and I went with my good friend Marty, and we went up to Sears, which is maybe over a mile away. And I thought I would surprise my family with a ping pong table. We bought it, and then we're trying to carry this thing home, a ping pong table, and it was like a mile and a half away. Well, I did have to call my dad, and so it wasn't as much of a surprise. But so we grew up with a ping pong table, and of course we had lots of pianos in the house. So there are 2 things that have been very close to me. And up to this day, I still play ping pong on a very regular basis. And of course, piano is my life. So let's come up with the 5 things that these 2 activities have in common. Well, one of them is pretty obvious. They both involve motor skills in a very, very deep way, slightly differently from one another. Of course, piano, you've got the finger coordination, the arms, and you have to coordinate with the sounds and the visual of the keys as well as the sheet music. There's so many aspects of motor skills in piano. Ping pong, though, also the trajectory of the ball you've got to judge, and the footwork, being in exactly the right place to get the ball. So there's obviously a tremendous amount of motor skills to both these activities. What else is there? Well, believe it or not, they both involve aerobic exercise. Now, you might be thinking, well, obviously, ping pong has aerobic exercise, and as a matter of fact, if you've ever watched, professional ping pong matches and they're 10 feet from the table and they're running around, it's unreal. And, it's mildly aerobic even if you're playing casually. But the great thing about it is it's not so exhausting that you can't play for hours either unless you're, out of shape. And that's what's great about ping pong. Now, what about piano? Is piano aerobic? Well, there are some things on piano that certainly are aerobic when you're jumping around, like, for example, the coda of the Chopin G minor ballade. You're going all over the place, and whenever you have leaps like that, it's mildly aerobic, but it's definitely more exercise than sitting and reading a book or something of that nature. You're getting a little bit of a raise in your metabolism. So they both provide some level of aerobic exercise. What else? Now, here's a really important one, is that they both keep your brain sharp. There was a study that was talked about in an article in the New York Times Magazine years ago, and it was an article about the brain, an in-depth article about the human brain. And in that article, they cited the piano playing as being the single most complex activity of the human brain. Think about all the things involved in piano playing. I mentioned earlier the coordination of your fingers, but the sound, the sights, and the short-term memory, long-term memory. You've got so many aspects in being able to take what you hear and what you feel. And so it's an incredibly complex human activity for the brain. But ping pong also, you have to make split-second calculations, moment to moment. There's strategy involved, trying to get the player off their kilter by where you place the ball. There's all aspects of spinning the ball to try to throw them off, and hitting corners so you have the greatest distance, trajectories, the arc of the ball. There's where you're standing. These are all great activities for the brain. As a matter of fact, it can help to prevent cognitive decline because you're exercising your brain, which is terrific. So that's another thing. Now, here's another big one for you: stress relief. Think about this. Obviously, playing the piano, you get done with your busy day at work or whatever you're doing, and you can just let your mind completely erase everything and just focus in on the beauty of music. And your brain is occupied 100% with something other than survival and all the things involved in relationships and work and chores, and you can just focus in on beautiful music. Well, it's Much the same thing with ping pong. When you're playing ping pong, you let go of everything and you get into a state of flow and you're just enjoying the game. And you let go of all the other worries in the world and just focus in. And these are ways that you can definitely discharge from the worries and relieve stress in your life. Finally, the last one was something that occurred to me, which is the impetus for doing this video, which is both piano and ping pong are immensely popular in China. You know, in China, there are something like, some estimates, 50 million piano students. In fact, like 100 years ago in this country, when there were hundreds of piano companies, there are hundreds of piano manufacturers in China that you don't even know about because they service the domestic market. Only a handful of companies export because there's such a huge market there. On our trip to China, we saw all kinds of piano brands with some of the oddest names you could ever imagine. Companies that probably wouldn't be able to export their products because they're not up to international standards, but price point pianos for the massive number of people who play piano in China. Well, ping pong is, of course, very, very popular. It's even supported by the government and, international competitions and Olympics. And it's popular with people. About 1 in 4 Chinese play ping pong, and it's readily available just about everywhere. So these are two things that I love that happen to be popular in China, and I do everything to keep piano popular here in the United States and around the world with my videos, my concerts, and my pianos. So any other ideas that you have, leave them in the notes here at livingpianos.com and on YouTube. Thanks again for joining me. Robert Estrin here at livingpianos.com, your online piano resource.